Hey crew, I forgot to tell you yesterday, but I am leading some PD for teachers over in the library today. So you guys are getting the flip lesson for today. We're going to cover the Ming Dynasty, and there's going to be a short video included in this, and also an ed puzzle at the end if I can dig one up. We'll see. We'll see what I can find. Anyway, to start the Ming Dynasty is the one that takes over as the Yuan or Mongolian dynasty falls apart. This is considered the golden age for Chinese art, and several of the slides that we're going to be looking at are going to have to do with that art from the Ming Dynasty. In fact, a lot of times at museums, you'll see the infamous Ming vases. They've got this like blue and white kind of really iconic pattern, and they go for millions and millions of dollars now. So one of the things about the kind of golden age of Chinese art is there's a lot of softness to it. It's very graceful. There's a lot of color and pattern used in moderation. In fact, three specific different styles of painting do develop. You really don't need to know that. Just for those of you who are art aficionados, there are three different schools of painting that developed during the Ming era. But also kind of cool during the Ming era is the start of the building of the infamous Forbidden City, the palace for the emperors of China. Hundreds of thousands of workers are going to be involved in the construction of the Forbidden City. And here I'm going to insert a short video for you.
Legends say there are 10,000 rooms in the palace of the emperor in heaven. The emperor in the real world built a palace with 9,999.5 rooms to show his respect to the heavenly emperor. "600 years ago, 100,000 laborers were engaged in building the palace with 100 million bricks and 200 million tiles. The palace featured vermilion walls and golden glazed tiles. The palace is open to the public and attracts crowds of tourists to experience royal life.
So pretty cool with the palace. In fact, one of the coolest movies that we no longer watch in Asian history because I had to cut back somewhere was called The Last Emperor, and we'll talk about that one as we get to the Qing Dynasty. But the cool thing about that particular film was during the height of the Cold War, that film was actually filmed inside the real Forbidden City. So pretty amazing feat that they were able to do that. Now China has a like a Hollywood backlot, just like here in the US we have a Hollywood backlot of the Alamo. They have one of the Forbidden City. But back to your notes. So Ming Cultural Revolution. So cough, cough, hint, hint. There are questions about this. The availability of being able to, they kind of stole the woodblock printing from Korea and then used their own paper technology to create books cheaply. So because printing and literacy are available, cheap books, people buy books because people can buy books cheap, they learn to read them, which means to more people being able to read and write. That leads to even more culture and art happening. So there's this huge explosion in literacy during the Ming dynasty, which completely changes the culture. The examination system still favors the rich. Are you noticing a pattern here? Time, money for books, tutors. But that explosion in cultural expression and ideas leads to, more literature, more paintings, more ceramics. The Ming are known for their operas and stuff. It was all pretty cool. You probably learned if you took world history about triangular trade, how there's, the Spanish go to the Americas to dig up silver, then they bring it back to Europe, and it's this big triangle around the Atlantic Ocean. Well, believe it or not, the triangular trade route of Asia connects the Philippines to China to Japan. And as the Spanish are finding silver in the New World, they're wanting goods from China with that. So they bring the silver to China. There's so much silver in the Chinese market because the Chinese are like, dude, Spain, your stuff really sucks. I don't want your stuff. We want your silver instead. Give us cash instead. So there's so much silver that floods the markets in China that it actually lowers the value of the currency and causes a pretty big recession. This also adds to some of the reasons for the Chinese to immigrate. The access that Spanish desire and European desire in general is one of the impetus for the age of exploration. Columbus, da Gama, all those guys, all trying to get access to Asian markets. So as interest in Chinese culture and ideas spread in Europe, the desire to get access to those goods leads to more and more funding being pumped into. Remember the whole story about Columbus? He gets, money from the Spanish king and queen because Italy turns him down, and then I'm going to go find direct route to, India, which is why when he lands in the Caribbean, he calls them Indians, but they're not Indians in India. They're Native Americans. They're the Taino people in Hispaniola, or Haiti today. So I just kind of cool to tie in the fact that the desire for silver in China, how that's tied into the age of exploration for Europe. One of the most famous explorers in the world is Admiral Zheng He. I've seen him spelled Chang Ho, but really, historically, most of the West, we accept Zheng He. He is going to do 7 separate voyages. He leads a treasure fleet, where Columbus had like 3 rinky-dink ships, the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria. All 3 of Columbus's ships would have fit on the lower deck of just the lead ship of Zheng He's treasure fleet. So to give you kind of a crazy idea. So his first voyage had 62 of these ships and 27,000, almost 28,000 men. He didn't go on the second one, that the voyage went on the third one. He had 48 ships and 30,000 men. The fourth voyage, there's 63 ships again. There's a 5th and 6th voyage. The 6th voyage, the emperor is going to cancel any future trips, and he orders the shipbuilders and sailors back to China and to stop working, which kind of ends this, age of exploration for China. When that emperor Gaozi is going to die, Zheng is going to resume the voyage, one last voyage for Admiral Zheng He to restore kind of relations with Malacca and Siam. He sends them out with 100 ships. He's going to die. The admiral's going to die on the return trip. So one of the stories is kind of interesting, and it's kind of an urban legend that's been going around in the U.S. for a long time. In fact, there are archaeologists looking for this. They've never actually found the ship. Legend is that one of Zheng He's ships, I can't remember exactly which voyage, I want to say it was like the the fifth or sixth one. I don't know, it doesn't really matter. Um, but one of the ships got knocked off course in a hurricane and never made it back to China. Well, the legend is, what if that hurricane knocked it into California? Okay, and the legend is that the men, never made it back to China, so what if they landed in California and just kind of blended in, assimilated with the native tribes there? Which would have meant that the Chinese found the Americas 50, 60 years before Columbus did, likely. Okay, so now what? What do we do about this? Well, what's interesting as more and more people have been doing the kind of ancestry.com DNA stuff, apparently there are several people, a significant portion of people who have Western tribal Native American DNA, are also showing small amounts of Asian DNA, which kind of, correlation is not causation, but it's kind of cool because it's got some people going, hey, wait a minute, maybe there is some truth to that story, even though we've never found a ship. Why do these people have a little bit of Asian blood in them? So kind of cool. So, to give you an idea, this is Zheng He's naval expeditions. He kind of bounces around the Indian Ocean here. Um, if you look at, China in the 1400, right about 1400 was the light yellow, and then they expand by 1644. What another thing that's kind of cool is that in 1498, so not too long, not too long after Columbus is finding its way, Da Gama had reached Calicut, which was China's favorite kind of port. So Da Gama gets access here. He brings the spices back that makes everybody go crazy and want more Indian and Chinese goods, which kind of touches off the kind of race to gain access for a Western, I forgot the term for it, but the Western access point. Okay, so the next few of these are some examples of some of the art from the Ming era. That's kind of cool. So these are some of the porcelain ceramics, but the next one are the infamous Ming vases. Like I said, you kind of recognize this blue on white pattern. Um, the symmetry to the pattern is there. Very expensive stuff. This is probably one of my favorites. It's a lacquer dish from the 15th century. But the picture's not very clear here, but you can kind of see this whole scene carved very, intricately into this dish. Here is a Ming scroll painting called Travelers in Autumn, and what it would do is it would be rolled up, and it kind of tells the story as you unroll it. A couple more Ming paintings, a Taoist scholar, and birds and flowers. And do you see kind of the softness of the pictures and the symmetry involved? This is another one of those things that would be rolled up. It's a story, and I forgot the story I heard at one point, and I can't remember now. But you would roll the story as you unrolled the scroll. You would read, and then the painting in the background would be the kind of illustration to go with the story. Okay, so we're going to stop here, and we're going to leave the final dynasty, the Qing dynasty, for next time. You guys have a good day.